Hi, everybody. This is Trisha from the library. I'm just letting people in from the waiting room. We'll get started in just a minute. While we're waiting for people to come in, I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight for this, oops, there's somebody, for this installation of Zoom cooking demonstrations with Veronique. We are so lucky to have her doing these for us. If you don't know, Veronique has also just been recently made a library alternate trustee, which is fantastic. So I do want to put out a reminder that we're going to keep everybody's microphones turned off so that we can all hear Veronique, and also a reminder that you can put any questions or comments you have in the little chat box, and we'll get to them as we can. And also just please remember, I'm sorry that my dog is barking. Please remember that we are recording this, and we now have a little YouTube playlist on the library's YouTube channel of Vero's programs. So you can go back and rewatch them, anything you missed from any of the recipes. So that's very exciting. And I guess that's it. We still have a few people that signed up that are going to come in, but I think, Vero, I'm going to turn things over to you, and everybody enjoy cooking with Veronique.
Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. So hopefully everybody's made their resolutions or is part of one of the losing some weight challenge at work or in their neighborhood or in their family. Those are always kind of motivating challenges. We actually just started one at work, and there's just no like goal or winning prize incentive. It's just an incentive to just keep tabs on each other's and be like, hey, did you weigh yourself this morning? So how are you doing? Or things like that. Sometimes people are a little shy about sharing their weight, and it's fine. People shouldn't be made feel bad. It doesn't have to be public, but it's a good enticement, and it's always nice to motivate each other's, because it's usually a little hard to self-motivate for those challenges. So Happy New Year. Today we're going to talk about tips and a couple recipes for healthier January. And I want to say, I would like to say more healthier lifestyle, eating habits in general, because I think that's kind of like where it gets kind of lost. So I want people to think like long run, not like a fad diet that's going to last until January 31st, and then that's it. Then we're going to eat like mad again and do all the, get back to all our little not all healthy eating habits. So you want to think goals that you can actually achieve, not like outlandish, like goals that after 10 days, you're just going to get fed up, bored, frustrated, and you're going to abandon. You want to try like small goals, little things you can change at the time. You don't need to change your whole daily diet / routine overnight, but little changes are nice. So that's why I'm really talking about more of a lifestyle / eating habits change. Slow pace, one change at a time, and also quality, but not quantity. So that's something that's really hard here when like you eat out or even you buy something for takeout. I feel it's always most of the time about quantity Like people tell me they're so happy that they had like enough leftovers to have 2 other meals at work from a takeout. And really, that's not really good in the sense that if you get given so much for $12 or $15 or $20, that means it's not really good quality food. So it's probably filling and making you feel full, but it's not the kind of fullness you want. I'm gonna turn on my oven. Hold on. Okay. So I just read this week that the Mediterranean diet slash cuisine was just named like one of the best diets of 2023. And the word diet gets kind of confused here. It's not really a diet, it's a way of life. And it's a way of eating, a way of life. It's about enjoying preparing your food and cooking your food and sitting down at a table and to eat your food, even if you're alone, like take a good book or think about your day instead of sitting in front of the TV and eating that eventually you don't even know what you're eating really on your plate. So the Mediterranean diet is about all that. It encompasses the whole process. The Mediterranean diet, though, the reason why it's been lasting and kind of successful as a model compared to all those fad diets you've heard from keto to Weight Watchers to all of those, is that it's really plant-based, which is really good for us and really good for our planet. And it contains basically whole grains, beans, nuts, seafood, poultry, and unsaturated fat from mainly extra virgin olive oil. And there's a lot of good books about it. And there's a lot of good books with practical recipes, recipes that don't take a long time, recipes that don't require 7,500 ingredients you don't have or you're going to buy for one recipe and then never use again, like spices and stuff like that. So I think it's really worth digging in and looking at a couple books. There's books on the shelf at the library. There's also a lot of good sources on Overdrive on online through the libraries, the New Hampshire library system. There's some magazine special issues that have been dedicated to it, like Eating Well, magazines like that. So it's really worth like looking at it and seeing like how do you transform piece of salmon in different ways, or how how do you cook one meal on a sheet pan with everything on it, veggies, fish, or chicken, things like that. So there's a lot of good sources out there to find ways to make healthy food that doesn't require a long time or a lot of ingredients to make. So I'm going to start with some tips for breakfast. So breakfast, usually we try to do something quick. So we pop some toast in the toaster, and usually it's obviously not bread that we baked or that we bought at a mom and pop bakery. So it's probably mostly full of empty carbs and a lot of sugar and a lot of saturated fats that we don't even think there are, but are, like in cinnamon raisin bread that comes from packaged in a piece of plastic and lasts for like a month and a half, really. All those are really like empty calories for you. So that's really not the best way to start your day. So I would say to start your day well, you should avoid refined sugars, which are like in all those breads or those like those frozen waffles, or not talking about donuts. Yes, they're delicious, like maybe once every other week, but not every morning. You should think more things that are like filling and that are going to bring you a lot of good nutrition for the whole morning. So that you're going to avoid snacking during the morning, because after you have like 2 pieces of toast at 6:30, you're going to snack in the morning before lunch, unless like you're a superhero, because that's just what your brain wants. Your brain's going to crave something else. So think like eggs, and I'm going to show you a way to prepare little egg bites, like muffin egg bites, like you can buy all made at Starbucks, or I don't know, Dunkin' Donuts, if they do that or not. But you can make them yourself, and you can bake them in big batches. You can actually pop them back in the freezer, and put them in your lunchbox. So you can use them for your lunch with a salad, or you can use them for breakfast, and you can eat them with your hands because they are muffin size, which is convenient. And those are going to contain different. You can really adapt the recipe that I'm going to give you with different vegetables. You can put ham, you can put bacon if you want, but just a couple little pieces. And always, you know me, every class I'm talking about spices. So to make your food more interesting, more attractive, you want to use spices, you want to use dried herbs, and that's really up to your taste. You don't need to follow a recipe for that. Remember, I always say baking, you need to follow the recipe, especially the quantities and stuff like that. Cooking, there's a lot more leeway. You can really adapt things to your taste. Like I'm going to say, my recipe has broccoli, but maybe you don't like broccoli, or your child doesn't like broccoli. No problem, just substitute something else. So that's my first recipe. So we're going to do a little, they're called baked omelette muffins. So what I did is I sauteed for 5 minutes some ham and some broccoli and some pepper. And I try to cut everything the same size. That's important. And also for these egg muffin bites, you want to use things that don't render water. So that's one of the reasons you kind of cook all the vegetables beforehand, because if you put them raw in there, they're going to render water, especially the broccoli and even the pepper. And they're going to take longer to bake, and they're going to be kind of soggy. So you're not going to achieve the texture that you want. So I sauteed all those, and I just used olive oil at the bottom of the pan. And what I do is I brush it so you don't put too much. You can also use a spray. I used to have a spray, but I found that because you use so little, the oil becomes kind of rancid in there. So I just use a brush, or you can use a piece of paper towel and just like dab it on the top of the olive oil bottle. And as long as you use a non-stick pan, you're good. So the least amount of oil possible. Definitely not butter, because it's saturated fat. So we have our little veggies here. And oh yeah, and I also have scallions in here to kind of give you a little taste. So those are not seasoned. I just sauteed them. And then we're going to make kind of like a sort of little omelette batter. So for my recipe, for 6 muffin bites, it's 4 eggs. What you can do is you can also use 2 eggs and 2 egg whites, which I'm going to use because I used egg yolks for some other recipe yesterday. So I'm just going to use 2 egg whites and 2 full eggs. You can also use completely egg whites, and you'll just have to bake it a couple of minutes more. Or and you can also use liquid egg whites if you don't want to waste the yolks. Like, I know the eggs are quite expensive right now, so if you don't have any idea to how to use the yolks, you can just buy liquid egg whites in a carton and measure the equivalent of 4. So I'm just gonna whisk them, and gonna add 1/4 cup of low-fat milk. You can use 2%. Obviously, you don't want the whole milk with the whole fat, but 2% would be fine too. It's gonna cook pretty much the same. And then to kind of bind everything together, some cheddar cheese, shredded. So same, I use what I had that I bought for tacos the other day. Same, a lot of times you don't need to go out and buy something just for one recipe, because then you're going to be frustrated because you have leftovers, because here we can't find any small package of anything. It always has to be massive quantities somehow. So don't feel bad. Like, I could have used Gruyere if I had Gruyere. I could you could even use some goat milk cheese, some goat cheese. just remember, like, cooking is more like to your taste, so you can kind of adapt a little bit. So I have that mix, and then I want to do to season it. So I was gonna do very little salt because we have the ham, even though that's low salt ham that I got that's uncured. I'm gonna do ground pepper, and I'm gonna do this little treasure that I showed you before, which is sriracha seasoning. So that's like sriracha sauce, the sauce with the Asian sauce that you can't find anymore because it's not available because their factory burned down, I guess. California, the Weifeng sriracha sauce. But there's good replacements coming out, I've seen. So you just mix that up. And then I already cooked my vegetables because you have to let them cool down because you don't want to put them in the mixture, the egg mixture hot. Otherwise, you're gonna start cooking already as you put them in. So they're warm to the touch probably, but they're cool down. So I'm just gonna mix them up. Just integrate them in there. And then I'm gonna use like a spoon to put them equally in the muffin tin, and I have oiled the muffin tin with olive oil. So I'm just gonna use some kind of spoon. Same, a lot of tools out there are really just marketing. Just use a spoon, salad spoon. It's gonna work out fine. And divide it into the cups. And try to do it like evenly, so there's an even amount of egg mixture and veggies / ham in there. And if you use egg whites, you probably want to use 5 because you're gonna come up a little short on the quantity otherwise. But that's all things like you'll figure out, as you're doing it. If you see that you're not gonna fill the whole thing, you can just add an egg white because at this point, it's not like baking where the ingredients have to be put down in the mix in a certain order. I mean, it's really just a convenient order, but nothing's going to happen if halfway through your batter you decide you're going to need to add an egg or an egg white. So and if you don't have time, they have those in the frozen section some similar egg bites at Trader Joe's that are pretty decent as far as their composition and the salt in them. Just be careful, like the killer in those things is the salt amount. So just read the package. Just take the habit of, if you buy something already pre-made, even if it's like, oh, it looks healthy, it's at Whole Foods, it's at Trader Joe's, you should read the back. Should read the nutrition on the back to make sure there's not 3/4 of your intake in salt in 2 egg muffin bites, because it is very frequent. So I have my little tin all filled, and I'm going to put it in the oven 325 for 25 minutes. So we'll have the chance before the class finishes to see them all done. So hold on a second. 25. And it says between 25 and 30 minutes, and that's really depends on, did you use the egg whites, did you use the whole eggs, things like that. So at 25 minutes, you're gonna go to your oven, you're gonna open the door, and you're gonna poke with your finger. And if it's like, sounds like it's kind of soft but springy, then it's done. If it sounds like it's still kind of liquid, you can wait another couple of minutes. So that's it for the baked omelette muffins. So other ideas that I'm giving for breakfast are the overnight oats. That's something that's super easy because you don't have to bake anything. You don't have to get a saucepan. So you just take a jar. I use a mason jar, and you put equal amounts of oats and of milk. So you can use low-fat milk in 2%. You can use almond milk, you can use soy milk, depending on your taste and what you usually like to eat. I usually use the old-fashioned oats, but some people, it gives more texture, but some people really like the steel cut oats better. They're more like chopped up, and it's going to be more like a porridge kind of texture. Um, so these ones, what I do is in the morning, I put my oats in a bowl and I microwave it like 30 seconds to a minute. It's gonna warm them up and it's gonna kind of like finish cooking them. But just having them overnight in the fridge basically soaks them enough that they're tender and but have a nice texture. And to them, I always add some chia seeds. So chia seeds are a polyunsaturated fat. They're really good for you. They have a lot of omega-3 fatty acids. And other good sources of omega-3 fatty acids that you should consider having some of it every day are sunflower seeds, soybeans, walnuts, or fatty fish. So fatty fish goes from salmon to mackerel, sardines, things like that. But that's a really important. So in most of our diets, we ingest too much of omega-6, but not enough omega-3. So that's something to remember. And that's a good complement to using extra virgin olive oil for the unsaturated fat. Extra virgin olive oil is a mono unsaturated fat, and all these other chia seeds and things I just named are poly unsaturated fats. So those are good to have in your breakfast or in your diet in general. And then the oatmeal, I know it's kind of bland. It's like, oh, that's it. Um, you can add a little sweetener if you want. So that would be a teaspoon of honey or of maple syrup. You can add a lot of fruits. So you can use some of frozen fruits. I have a stack of blueberries, raspberries that I handpicked this summer, peaches that I sliced and preserved just with lemon juice in freezer bags. So I'll add a little bit of what I feel like every morning in that, and that makes it really good. You can add a little more of the milk that you use if you want it a little more liquidy and not so pasty. What's good about those I like is you can make it for like 3 or 4 days, and in the morning you take the portion you want out of your mason jar and you can still eat it the next morning, and the next morning it's still fine because it's in the fridge. Notice that's my serving, so I don't know if people can kind of see. So I would say it's probably like 3/4 a cup. That's another thing that we are kind of misled, is that no, we don't have to eat a bowl that size of oatmeals in the morning to sustain ourselves, especially in our lifestyles, unless you're exerting like 6,000 calories a day, which 99% of us are not. That's really all we need. And that's the other big thing I want to talk about a little bit is portions. And I'm not going to say like portion control because that's kind of freaky. But we are sold a bill of goods that, oh yeah, everything should come in big quantities, big containers. We should eat a big bowl. We should eat a giant plate of salad. No, we don't. We don't need it. Our bodies don't need it. And so when we're trying to lose weight or to maintain weight, it's really hard because when you go out to a restaurant or you order takeout, you always get all those quantities. And unless you're good enough to just like discipline enough to say, oh, let's portion it, that's too much, let me portion it out. Well, that's hard to do like when you're at a restaurant or you come home from the takeout. It's hard to discipline yourself to say, no, I'm only gonna eat a third of the container. So you can try doing that by yourself. That's why trying to cook and prepare meals for yourself is important, because you can control how much you eat. And this little thing of oatmeal is gonna last me the whole morning, and it's very fulfilling with fruit. And I would say probably it's gonna be kind of round with the fruit. I don't put sweetener myself in it. I feel I get the sweet from the fruits, and that's enough. But just think like every time you give yourself a serving of something, like how much should I really eat, or how much should a serving really be? Notice that when we read these nutrition values, they always say like amount per serving. Some servings are actually a fair quantity, like that says half a cup dry. So half a cup dry is going to give you this nutrition. Doesn't mean you need to eat half a cup dry, because half a cup dry is going to give you more than a cup, like probably a cup and a quarter, with the liquid and everything. And as far as I'm concerned, that's too much. But those are things you need to determine yourself and figure, like, when are you full? How much should I really be having of this? Sometimes it's hard because you've already prepared the dish or the meal, and you're like, oh, you don't want to waste it. Well, most of the time you can keep it for later, but then you've learned for the next time that you don't need as much. So that's little tidbits to kind of change your way of eating, your way of thinking your next meal, or preparing your weekly grocery list. Do I really need all that? Does it make sense that at the end of each week I throw a third of my fridge out because it's not good anymore, but how could I have managed with buying less? So those are all good, like your tips of things you can slowly try to work with your kids, your spouse, or yourself, and just like determine like how much do I need to eat. So that's the oatmeal. And I know a lot of people like smoothies. So smoothies are super easy way to have breakfast on the go, or to have like even like maybe a mini morning snack or something. Um, Smoothies can be good. Smoothies shouldn't be had every day. Most smoothies, they're going to contain a lot of sugar, because even if you don't add sugar to the fruits, or the fruits slash veggies, for example, some smoothies, you're going to use almond butter, and that's fine, but that's going to bring sugar because there's sugar in it. Berries, they bring a lot of sugar. So if you do smoothies, which is fine, same, a normal quantity, I was just going to show you like that. It's like a cup and a half. That's good. That's good for a smoothie. You don't need like this for a smoothie. Sorry. So just remember like quantities, and so if you have double the quantity, yeah, it's good and it's gonna go fast. But how much sugar are you ingesting that morning out of what you really should eat during the whole day? So I like smoothies with mixing fruits and vegetables. Like so I don't like spinach. I don't eat spinach because spinach is full of pesticides, and it's like one of the top of the list, full of pesticides no matter how much you wash it, and because it grows so fast. So it needs a lot of water to grow. So I tried different things. Try kale. Kale grows a lot slower than spinach, and it's a cruciferous, so it reacts a different way. So I try to add different things in my smoothies to still, I'll add some lettuce, some salad, to have a mix. You don't need to do cucumber water. You can just add a cucumber in there with a bunch of other fruits, and then put some almond butter or peanut butter if you like it, to just give it a little like different taste and a little more smoothiness. One way for the smoothies to be smoothier, it's like the soups. So the longer you leave this mix in your blender, the creamier and the smoothier it's gonna get. You do not need to use dairy to have like creamy smoothies or creamy soups. You can just, once you think it's blended, continue to blend it for maybe a minute and a half. And the consistency will change, because the longer you blend it, the longer everything gets crushed together and the creamier it gets. So one of the things I try to tell people not to use is dairy in their smoothies. Adds a lot of calories. You can use unsweetened coconut water. You can use almond milk, but same. Unfortunately, most of the almond milks, soy milks on the market have some type of sugar added in there. And the way they are produced is not very healthy for the end product. It doesn't bring you much of anything. So for me, it's kind of empty calories, which is not what you're looking for your breakfast. You can add lemon juice. You can add, don't add the gallon of orange juice from the store. You can press an orange in there yourself, just with your hand. Press an orange, press half an orange, press half a lemon, things like that, to add for the liquid part. So those, and I put a couple recipes there for you, and just a turmeric smoothie with turmeric. Turmeric is really good for you. And kefir smoothie, which uses kefir, which is, yeah, it's a dairy product, but it's fermented. So it's actually good. It's actually much better for you than just regular milk. Fermented products are very much used in Asian diets, in Mediterranean diets. Fermented products, like I'm talking pickles, kimchi, sauerkraut, they're really good for you. So you can add some pickle juice. Actually, I was at a store recently and I saw they're selling pickle juice in a jar, just like regular pickle juice. Of course, you can use the juice when you finish your pickles. That's much easier, but don't throw that. That's really good, super hydrating. If you're dehydrated someday in the summertime, you should always have some pickle juice in your fridge. And if you have a jar of pickles, just like pour some juice in the water. It's really hydrating. So that's good in your smoothies. Of course, it's all about the taste. Like if you don't like the taste, you're not gonna have something again, obviously. So try small quantities at first. Like try adding a quarter cup of pickle juice and see how it tastes. The next time you'll try something else. So those are like little tips for the breakfast. So for lunch, I'm thinking lunch and dinner, salads, raw veggies, hard-boiled eggs, cooked grains. I haven't talked about cooked grains. So I have a little assortment here of good grains. So they're either ancient grains or they're beans, things that fill you, that are good for you, that bring you a lot of vitamins and nutrients. And some of them, yeah, they take longer to cook, but they're worth it. So we have green lentils or regular lentils. Those are like the petit French lentils. And those actually cook very fast, like 30 minutes. Those are really good. Let me show you what they look like. Those are really good with salmon. So you can have a little lentil salad. So those are little green lentils. They won't get much bigger than that when you cook them. You cook them with a carrot and an onion and a couple cloves. They're delicious. You can eat them hot, warm. You can eat them cold. They go well with fish, smoked salmon, smoked trout, which you want to have like a little piece with that as a salad. You can dress lentils with lemon juice, whole grain mustard, and a little dab of olive oil. Delicious and very filling. Yeah, farro. Farro is an ancient grain they use a lot in Italy. It looks like wheat. Let me show you. It looks like unprocessed wheat. Takes a little longer to cook. I find the best way to cook those ancient grains is to cook them if you have somebody help me. 1 pot pressure cooker. If you have a pressure cooker, that's a good way to cook them really fast, and they stay with the right texture. So you want them like chewy but not crackly because they need to be cooked, but you don't want them to become mush. So a good way to cook them is in a pressure cooker. And some of them you can pre-soak, so those are pre-soaked. They also sell farro and quinoa that are like fast cooking. I'd stay away from the fast cooking farro, somehow pre-treated to cook faster, and it loses a lot of its nutrients in the first process before you even buy it. And it's just like, the extra effort of putting it in a pressure cooker or just like cooking it in a pan with a lid for 45 minutes is totally worth it. And those are some things that you can cook in a good quantity. So I usually will double or triple what I need as far as the quantity, and then you can have it in the fridge for a week. You can freeze it. You can freeze it. You can freeze all cooked rices. You can freeze cooked grains for a couple of months. You just bag them or put them in a Tupperware. They'll be fine. So those are really good ones. Red split lentils, those will be good to make soups. They don't hold well because they are split. They're like broken in half, kind of. They won't hold well to eat like as a salad or cold dish, but they'll be good as soup. And you can have a carrot, red lentil soup, but you can also have just you can just add a little lentils in like a tomato soup or chickpea red pepper soup. You just add like a quarter cup. They will kind of blend in, but they will bring you some nice different nutrients and vitamins. Chickpeas. Chickpeas are really good for you. You can saute chickpeas in olive oil with red onion and have that as a garnish for a salad, for example. Or you can use them in a soup, and they'll, instead of adding potatoes in a soup to get thicker, use chickpeas. They're really great. I was kind of poo-hooey in them earlier in my life, but I found a lot of uses for them, and they're actually delicious. Sauteed, they are really good with cumin sprinkled on them at the end with the red onion. So we'll tip with the chickpeas. Flageolet. Okay, so those are, yeah, they're kind of white beans, but they're kind of green. And so those I buy from this place that grows them in Massachusetts at the farmer's market. And they're going to be there tomorrow at the Stratham, at CMS, at the Stratham Seacoast Eat Local Farmers Market. They sell, I think they sell 12 different kinds of beans. Their beans are great. They hand clean them. So I've never had a little stone or whatever like you have in those industrial ones that you buy at the store. And flageolet, I grew up with them, so I'm kind of partial, but they're like a small cannellini bean. They're really full of flavor. They're really good for you. And same, beans can cook in a crock pot while you're at work or doing something else. They can, simmer slowly, and then you can use them as an accompaniment. You can use them cold with a salad. So that's what I like about all these grains. Is basically you can use them hot or warm or cold in a dish. They're really good with a green salad with veggies because they're going to add some texture. They're going to add some protein. They're just going to add to your experience. So another thing about salads is people tell me like, oh, so tired of salads. Like salads are so boring. I'm like, what? Salads aren't boring. If you want to make your salads less boring, get yourself a cheap spiralizer. Get a mandolin. Do little cut. Do different cuts. So spiralizer, and I'm getting those little cute curly cues for my salad, which I love. So, voila. Just remember, some of the veggies and fruits, their properties changes when they are cut in different ways. Like grated carrots have a totally different taste than if you eat just a carrot raw. And it releases the natural sugars in them, and it makes them an interesting texture. So here, thanks to a friend who loaned me her mandolin, because my own mandolin is loaned to a friend who has a video on it, I was going to show you how to make some little mini fries out of veggies or fruits. So I made these little fries out of a mandolin. And that's nice because that's a different texture too. Maybe you or your child will like to eat apples this way better than just biting in the apple or like cutting in quarters and peeling. So those are little things that don't need a big investment And you can just have a grater. You don't need to have a mandolin. You can have a grater and grate, the box grater on different sides. You can have different grades. So you can try with the carrot. Notice that the carrot in the big holes in the grater is going to taste different, I guarantee you, than the carrot in the very small fine grater, like the cheese grater side. The cheese grater side carrots are going to taste sweeter. They're just try. That's the only way, if you try, because they will really taste different. Yes, still a carrot. I know. So those are different ways, using the mandolin, using the spiralizer. And this spiralizer I really love because it's really nothing fancy. It's probably $12. And you can change the blades. There's like 3 different blades. And it just holds the veggie right here for people who've never used one. And then you just like you were shaving something. So you can use a potato peeler, vegetable peeler, to make different very thin slices. So you don't need a mandolin, you just use the vegetable peeler, make like super, super thin slices. So those are always to vary and keep your interest going with salads, with kind of like raw food. I'm gonna check my little bites. Ooh, they're coming up. I'm gonna quickly talk about plate size. Okay. So another way to try to eat less or to eat better adapted portions is we all have those giant plates. And yeah, normally we're supposed to put the food in here, okay? But most of the times we don't. The bigger the plate, the more food you're gonna put on and the more food you're gonna eat. It's just our brains are trained like that. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no right, wrong. It's nobody's fault. So if you want to slowly have your portions reduced, eat on a dinner plate / salad plate. And you will notice that obviously you will not be able to pile as much as if this was on this, because see, on this, it's not a magical trick. It just looks like there's barely anything. So we're gonna keep putting more and more. That doesn't mean we need all that food. It just means like our brain says, you have this plate container, you need to fill it. So think about the size of your lunchbox. Bento box, about that big, that's enough. People all over the world eat that much and they are alive and doing well. So those are all little things that it's hard because we're conditioned. We have those plates, we've always eaten on those plates, but it's proven by nutritionists, by people who have studied like our brain reactions and stuff, that it's all conditioning. That's all it is. It's not like something we need. It's something we do by habit because we have it. So it's the same for snacks. I was gonna talk quickly about snacks. So snacks, it's kind of easy to understand. If you have snacks at your house that you think you shouldn't eat, do not buy them, do not bring them home, do not store them in your cupboards, because I do it. We all do it. If we have it, it's here, we're gonna eat it. If it's 9 p.m. and you are craving popcorn, for example, it's not in your house, I highly doubt you're gonna get your clothes back on, get your hat, get your car out of the garage and go to the grocery store to get it. So that's kind of basic what I'm saying, but it's true. So, when organizers or people who talk about nutrition, like show you these beautifully organized, like the old drawers for your snacks and whatnot, it does work. So the proof yesterday at a staff meeting at work, and I brought Yeah, some unhealthy stuff, hot cocoa bombs and milk. But I also and cookies. But I also brought some chopped up, cut up oranges, like your quarters here, like that. I have in my fridge. I'm making every day, and apples. And a lot of people went to them because it's already cut up. So we don't have to peel the orange. We don't have, so it's already cut up. So little snacks like that, if you prepare, maybe when you do your grocery list, you think of things, what would you like to eat as snacks? Healthier snacks, obviously. And have a little assortment. So either it's in the fridge, you chop up some veggies or some fruits. Prep is really a big part of kind of trying to eating healthier, because if it's already made, like if you dedicate 2 hours on Sunday night or Tuesday night, whatever, to prepare stuff that maybe it's not your first choice to eat, but you know it would be good for you to eat as especially snacks, do it because it's well worth it, the time that you spend. And I'm saying, maybe it's gonna be 25 minutes, whatever. But if you have it all prepared and it's there, you will eat it. And I honestly find myself going to the stuff I prepared versus, like, I know I have cookies up in the cupboard and stuff that I really could not eat. And I find myself going to my stuff in the fridge. I find that stuff in the fridge too. I don't know, it's refreshing. So when you need a little snack at night, it's nicer to just go to that. So all done. The egg muffin bites seem to be ready. And they are. Look at those. They're cute. They're appetizing. So that didn't take us long. I mean, prep, 10 minutes? And then just wait for the bake. And then just let them sit for 5 minutes in the muffin tins. Then we're gonna get them out. So they are nice size for your hand. You can eat them right from it. You don't need to have a plate or anything like that. And like I said before, you can cool them completely, freeze them, and just warm them up in the microwave when you want one on the go. So those are good snacks too. So we're gonna let them cool for 5 minutes. So those are all the little tips. A lot of cooking magazines have been talking the last couple of years, I see, about like one sheet pan cooking, which means basically you put everything for your dinner on a sheet pan and you put it in the oven. You can use really good healthy recipes if you don't overuse oil and compensate with a lot of spices, and let them roast slowly, maybe slower than recommended. Like I see a lot of the recipe, they're like 450, 20 minutes. It's like, yeah, it's gonna be kind of very crispy on the outside, but the inside. So I like longer bakes, like 350. Honestly, for 90% of your cooking, it's fine. It's gonna cook. Obviously, it's gonna take longer, but it's gonna cook nicer to what I feel should be. So you can do chicken breast and Brussels sprouts and sweet potatoes, for example. You can put some salmon on there. You can put some cod on there with potatoes. The only thing you have to be careful about those recipes is that a lot of times they don't account for the veggie cooks slower than, for example, the fish. So I prefer there's a couple good tables online, and I'll send a link to that one that show you how long to cook, say, Brussels sprouts, how long to oven bake. I'm talking Brussels sprout, how long to oven bake, sweet potato. What can you pair together that kind of oven bake the same? I think we talked about it during like Thanksgiving class, but not everybody was there. So I'll send a little reminder. But those oven baked dinner are really good. because usually you just chop, put on the pan and put in the oven and go do something else for 35, 40 minutes. So they're good as far as time-wise, preparation, and the effort you have to put in there, and you still can get a really healthy meal. Same, use a lot of spices, use a lot of herbs, like rosemary, thyme. They do really well in the oven cooking. So that's a good way to get a balanced meal for the evening, and not using pots and pans on the stove for 30 minutes nonstop. So those are good ways. Another thing I wanted to say is eating at least an hour before you go to bed. I know people, so maybe that only applies to me because I'm used to eating late, because in Europe we don't eat before like 7:30, 8. But in general, you should really eat whatever you eat last should be like an hour before you go to bed. And it's because once you go to bed, like you stop burning calories and everything kind of sits in your stomach and doesn't process the same way. So in general, it's a good eating habit to stop eating an hour or an hour and a half before you go to bed. And say, I know that's kind of hard sometimes, but if you try that, it will, one, if you be disciplined enough, you will avoid you eating non-desirable snacks right before going to bed, because you have all of a sudden a craving for ice cream or cookies or things like that. So it's, it's all, and like I said, like, you can't like stop everything January 1st and restarts as normal February 1st. It's just like try to change little things at a time, little things that don't make you feel unhappy, because then that's kind of wrong. Like, yeah, it's good to stop drinking alcohol for the month of January, but a glass of wine twice or three times a week has never killed anybody, and it's really not that unhealthy. So it's all in moderation. Everything should be in moderation. What you put on your plate, the amount you eat should be in moderation. The little extra snacks or a glass of wine or things like that you consume should be in moderation. And I think that's what the Mediterranean diet is. I mean, people in the Mediterranean areas who kind of like follow this diet just because that's like their lifestyle, that's how they were born, that's how they've always eaten. They still drink alcohol and and have some desserts. It's just all about moderation. So that's my little class for tonight. I welcome questions, and we'll send out tips and couple recipes tonight. And I will probably send another little blurb with references and stuff on Monday after the weekend. So thank you for following my class, and let's bring the questions on.
Vero, did you see the question about where did you find your farro?
No, I didn't see anything. So where did I find the farro? Okay, farro. So Bob's Red Meal has all those grains. I found it at Market Basket, I think, but they are at Shaw's, they are at Hannaford. They have a really good selection of all the ancient grain today. Like they have tricolor couscous, they really have, and most of their grains are organic. And if you go on his website and like read the history of the company and things like that, I really like the whole model of the company, and I think it's those are good products. They have different rices. They have like a really good white rice blend. Yeah, they have a lot of cereals, but I think the confusion is there in different areas of grocery stores usually. So those I found it where they have all the rices. That helps.
There's a question about what you were saying about the sriracha sauce.
Okay, so sriracha sauce, I don't know, there was a really good program on Netflix a couple of years ago about the whole history of sriracha. And so that's what's left of my sriracha sauce. And that's made by Hui Fong Foods in California. And they had a double whammy. They had a fire at their plant and their US plant. And then there's been a shortage of the specific peppers that they use to make this sauce. So this sauce, unless you want to pay $20 on Amazon for a bottle, which those cost like $3.99 normally, is completely unattainable, which is for some people a disaster. But I found this sriracha sauce from Trader Joe's that just came out that is supposed to be made the same way and with the same peppers. So we will see. I haven't tasted it yet. There's so many spicy sauces out there, but I've really become partial to this one. So that's it. And it's a good seasoning all in all. And then the sriracha seasoning is basically dried up, those same type of peppers are dried up and ground up. No other questions, comments? No, thank you, Valerie.
Mhm.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it and that I wasn't too bossy, but what
Oh.
you should do, uh, I think like, like the whole like resolution, like it's kind of like a good reset too, even if we don't need to lose weight, if we just like want to eat healthier. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will, Trisha will be sending the follow-up in the email, and have a great weekend and happy January. I will see you in February, and we will be baking some treats for Valentine's. So we will be actually naughty. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, Vero. Thank you for coming, everybody. Good night.
Good night.